Welcome back, everyone. And we return tonight with a look into Nick. Sort of a Nick story as he leaves the remains of Celia's compound and strikes out, now on his own, into the world to find a new community to be part of. And it's sort of a return to beginnings for us as well, as with this we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of D's Reviews. Look, I made a little zombie jello mold to celebrate. That's right, it's a return to beginnings as we get back to Fear the Walking Dead, Season 2, Episode 8, Grotesque. Not you, little buddy. You look delicious. Alright, and welcome to D's Reviews and our coverage of Fear the Walking Dead. Welcome back, everyone. It's good to see you again. And yes, as I had mentioned, this is the 1-year anniversary of D's Reviews. It started out last August with the premiere of Fear the Walking Dead, and here we are a year later coming back to the Season 2 mid-season premiere. And I couldn't have done it without all of you. Thank you so much for continuing to watch these reviews. With all of your feedback and everything else, it means so much to me. I couldn't be here without any of you. So again, thank you so much. All right, and to this episode, a great episode. I really liked how they focused this week on just telling sort of Nick's story. If this was the idea they're going to do for the first few episodes, coming back in the second half of the season is maybe spending an episode just with Nick, and then maybe next week's episode we say just with Maddie and Strand and Ophelia and Alicia, and then maybe the one after that we do just Travis and Chris. I think that would be nice. It would be a way to sort of encapsulate a good chunk of story for them without having to split it up. If they try to do that, then it's, you know, you spend 4 weeks trying to get through basically one episode story. I like the idea of them just focusing on 1 or 2 characters at a time, just to sort of reestablish them in this world now, and then maybe bringing them back together as the rest of the season comes together. I think that would be a great idea, but I really did enjoy what they did with tonight's episode. Now, there are a lot of religious overtones throughout this episode. I mean, it starts off as Nick wakes up underneath the crucifix. And it's very much a reminder of the very first episode where he wakes up in the abandoned church. Again, that same type of religious overtone. It carries forward when he's on top of the car after the dogs attack him and the walkers are coming to him. He kind of falls into that prayer moment, and that's when we have the mysterious horns honking and gunfiring that sort of draws the walkers away. We also have the rain, of course, always a classic symbol of baptism, of rebirth. And as he's going through his story there, that seems an appropriate time. And then, of course, as with the flashbacks that persist throughout the episode dealing with Gloria, how those end up at the very end, again, back at the church where everything just started. And it seems to be this is basically the night before, and it's the following morning where Nick wakes up and finds Gloria turned into a walker, and then begins the whole journey that started this show. So again, sort of a nice way to sort of bring things all the way back around, a little bit of that religious iconography, and that sort of makes sense for Nick, where he is sort of transitioning through and he is looking through this world with a different lens. Again, that sort of lens that Celia had given him, where walkers are just a new part of life and not this whole horrific thing that we sort of take them as. And then a lot of this episode, again, deals with Nick's environment, Nick dealing with the world. And as he goes through the world, we find out that, I mean, Nick is very much set in this world. He doesn't have a problem. The environment itself is not an issue for him. The streets, the desert, the desolation, any of that, that doesn't seem to have any effect on him. Even the walkers themselves are really part of the environment. To him, they really seem to be more of like dealing with a child or some sort of animal, and part of the environment that just reaches out at you. There's that whole sequence where he deals with the walker that's in the car, where he finds the water afterwards. And it's just sort of that person, that girl's just reaching for him, and he's just He's just playing with the finger. It's sort of, again, like a child reaching and grabbing, and you're playing with the grab bit. Even when he goes to grab the radio, he's not afraid. There's no concern really in him of it's just, okay, stop your reaching, just bat it back and let me grab this and go on. Even once he has it, he doesn't even really acknowledge the walkers anymore. When he gets the belt off of that one, he just crawls over, holds it down, pulls the belt off, and then leaves. The walkers are not a concern to him. They are just part of this environment of the world that he is in. However, when an actual human comes up, that's when things change. Hear the sound of an engine, and that's when his ears perk up. That's when his danger sign goes up. And it's the one lesson that is continuing from the beginning of Walking Dead in through all Fear the Walking Dead. It's not the dead that you all have to fear. It is the living. It's the humans. It's the men with guns, as he says later. And then we sort of have an appropriate turnaround even with them, because we have the highwaymen that start chasing after him. You make the noise, run across the street. Why didn't sneak around the back of the car and down the other side? Seemed to run into fight. Anyway, that's just a minor complaint. It was really that moment of that kind of reversal, even dealing with the humans, is at first they are chasing him and he runs off. And then when we find them later again, it's Nick in the midst of the walkers, leading the walkers back towards the highwaymen. Ends up taking two of them out. And the one thing with that scene is, okay, I understand the first guy. He sees Nick in the mix of the walkers, sort of freaks out that there's a live human in the middle of all of these walkers. That he drops his ammunition and he has to pick that up and he has a bit of panic. It's a bit of a stretch, it's a little cheesy, but I'll go with that. But his buddy, who is standing there with the machine gun, I don't really see why he waited so long for the rest of the walkers to come up on him. So yes, I like the justice of the scene of sort of turning things back around on these guys, but that they would really get close enough to let the walkers en masse sort of attack them, that I thought was a little bit cheesy. Again, I really love the episode. Small little bits of criticism I am going to share. Now, during Nick's journey, he pointed out a few situations which, if you are aware of ahead of time, could save you in your walker apocalypse, or any disaster that you might run into. Let's start off with the basics. Number 1, the human body can last for 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. Just sort of a heads up. If you haven't had a drink for a couple of hours, maybe that's not the time to just start randomly picking out at things to see if you can quench that thirst. Number 2, watch where you sleep. Try and sleep in a defensible position. At the very least, try and have all your items around you, so if some crazy person wakes you up swinging a bat, you can just grab your stuff and go. Also, if you're going to sleep somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and you have animals, walkers, crazy humans, try and not sleep on the ground in an easily assaultable position. Maybe climb inside the truck or on top of it. Yes, it's a little windy, but it's a lot better than having your leg chewed off by a dog. Number 3, if you don't know what it is, don't eat it. Okay? Yes, there are a few cactus out there, prickly pear and a few others, that are safe to eat, but many other cactuses are poisonous or carry hallucinogenic compounds. And if you dig into one of those, trust me, it will not be the quenchiest. 2 of you got that joke right there, and you're awesome. Number 3, do not drink your own urine, okay? Yes, it's sterile. It's come from inside of you, so it doesn't have bacteria in it. However, it is a waste product of your body. This is something your body is trying to get rid of. You do not want to re-ingest this stuff. It can make you sick. It certainly doesn't necessarily rehydrate you. Yes, there are a few random points of thought on this from a survival basis, but I'm going to tell you, especially if you're out there and you are sweating and you're in dire need of water, what you are peeing out most likely will be full of concentrates, full of waste that your body really is trying to get rid of. It's absorbing the rest of the water back into itself. So, just as a general rule, don't drink your own urine, okay? It's not a good idea. And lastly, don't eat after walkers. That's right. If walkers are chewing on something, you probably don't want to chew into that right afterwards. You don't know what type of diseases or infection they have. First of all, they are walkers. They have the whole walker infection in them that if you are overly exposed to, that could turn you. Two, who knows what else is sort of existing on their drippings and endings and stuff like that of dead corpses. I'm just saying, probably don't want to dig into that, especially if you were long before that whole 3-week without food bit that we were talking about earlier. These are just a few important safety tips that might help you survive your walker apocalypse. You're welcome. The walker vision that Nick had as he's going along with the group. What caused that? What is that all about? You get a few things. One, could be dehydration, could be exhaustion, could have been, like I said, the dogs that he was just eating, and who knows what type of thing was going on there. Part of the image seemed to be, to me, is it reminded me a lot of that scene with Shane turning back in season 2 of Walking Dead. I'm curious if this is, maybe that is a bit of the infection working its way onto Nick. Not taking over entirely, he was able to fight that off or hold it at bay, but there did seem to be that idea of him connecting with the walkers more, understanding them, even with their little speech and mutterings and bit like that. Of course, he had the whole illusion of Gloria wandering, as a walker right next to him, which definitely is not a good sign. So I'm not really sure where this is, if this is just a wandering of Nick's state of mind, or this is sort of a little bit of implying of he's getting a little too close to them. He's almost becoming a walker himself in the midst of that, and was just kind of unable to sort of pull himself out, snap out of that, and bring himself back. Now, with all the flashback sequences, we are basically looking into Nick's relationship with his father. And through those moments with Gloria, going through the whole drug rehab bit, basically finding out the sort of daddy issues that Nick is dealing with. That he has some issues with his father, that he had an opportunity to finally express himself, to finally get off of his chest, and that is when his father dies in a car accident. So never able to really express themselves, never able to really overcome those moments. That seems to be one of the issues that continue to plague Nick. Now, the only question that we don't have right here, or the only answer that we don't have here with that, is the time frame that it's all around. Was Maddie and Nick's father still married when he died? How long was between when she pulled and how long is it since Nick's father died, that and when we get to the next flashback when he and Gloria are in the church? Because at that point, obviously, Maddie is with Travis. So we don't really know the time frames with this, but it's basically sort of giving that insight into Nick, into the relationship issues that he's had with his father, and how those were basically never satisfied. But of course, finally, Nick does complete his journey of 100 miles to Tijuana. Maybe he didn't get all the way to Tijuana, definitely seems to be close the way that we are following the signs, but that is where he meets up with Luciana and this whole new community. The new community that, as Nick had said to the doctor, where the dead aren't monsters. I want to try and find a place where the dead belong, just as I do. This is sort of a extension of Celia's idea, which Nick really does gravitate to. And of course that makes sense. He doesn't see the walkers as a threat. It's the people, the men with the guns, that he sees as a threat. And we've got some new characters here. It'll be fun to sort of explore. Luciana, very powerful and great new character. And she seemed to be looking for someone like Nick. I'm not sure if you caught, but from her conversation with Francisco, when she was looking at Nick through the binoculars, she seemed to be looking for someone else. And then Francisco had mentioned well, he also walks with the walkers. He walks with the dead. So I'm wondering if there is someone else in the compound, maybe around, that is like Nick, that can negotiate the dead with the ease that he does. But this, of course, with the new community, will be where Nick's story will continue out. Now, there was one other little question that I wanted to bring up, and I think this might be something that we're going to catch in future episodes. Just after the dogs attack Nick, by the way, I guess this is what happened to all the dogs in the world. They just go after the walkers, and the walkers come around en masse. Very sad to see that. But when the walkers are coming after Nick, and then suddenly we hear the horns honking and the machine gun fire, and that sort of draws the walkers back away from him. We don't really hear anything more of that, and we're guessing that it could be the highwaymen, but I am wondering if we are going to see the other side of that action in one of the other episodes. Is that Maddie and Strand and them going through, heading down the same highway and running into the highwaymen, and that gunfire starting things off? Is this, you know, Travis and Chris on their journey? So I'm thinking that we're probably going to see the other side of that particular instance in a future episode. Also because with the highwaymen, that they're sort of there to make the statement of the lawlessness in this part of the world. I think they were shown a little too brief. I think we're going to catch a little bit more of them and maybe what their community is going to be like. So these are things to look forward through in the rest of the upcoming season. So that is it for us tonight. Thank you so much for coming back and making Dee's Reviews the thing that it is. Really appreciate you guys being here. If you like what I had to say, go ahead and hit that like button. Press the subscribe button. I'll put it right up over here. You can click back, come back every week. We are wrapping up a few more episodes of Mr. Robot. Awesome hacker drama over on USA Network. We're doing that. That's Wednesday nights. We have reviews out on Thursday. We are starting, of course, this and then going into Walking Dead, which premieres October 23rd. And then also September 20th is the return of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., one of my favorite shows on TV. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I love this show. Really excited about that season coming forward. So lots of stuff coming up for all of us. Thank you so much. You have any ideas, thoughts? What do you expect to see in the season coming up ahead? Throw those down in the comment section below. We'll start a little conversation there. If you want to catch me on Twitter, you can. I'm at Darren Jakes. There's that right there. And that is it. Thank you again so much. 1 year. We're going to be moving forward on with this. Thank you so much. Doesn't mean anything if you guys aren't here to watch it. So again, really do appreciate it. That's it. I am D and I am out of here. Just going to get a little spoon and enjoy my Jello zombie. All right. You guys take it easy. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. All right, dig in.
I get the news.
And if you would like to check out the tour of the Universal Studios' new attraction of The Walking Dead, you can go ahead and click up here. Or if you'd rather check out our reviews of Season 2 of Mr. Robot, go ahead and click right over here. Zombie face, so good. I like it. Good, good.
It's watermelon.
Yummy.